welcome to Podtoid. I'm CJ.
Buonasera, sono Chris.
I am nothingness. I'm Charlotte.
I look good in whatever I wear. I'm not wearing skin.
This is off to a weird start already. Oh, I feel bad that the only foreign language, and it's not really foreign language that I speak, is sign language, because that really doesn't translate to podcasting that well, unless you just want to hear my fingers and hands slap against each other.
Yes, please.
Don't forget you speak racist Italian as well from last week.
Racist Italian, I forgot.
Hey, do you remember when we were all wrong about El Nombre?
Yes. Well, not all of us.
I like to think it was all of us that were wrong. We're a team, CJ. When one of us fucks up, it's the fault of all of us.
I like that.
Who even speaks Spanish anyway? Nobody.
Especially not here in California. Whew, gosh, just so few Spanish speakers all over the place. Welcome to the show. This is episode 458. Thank you for joining us today. We have a good program for you. We're going to be talking about some Oxenfree, some Tony Hawk, a little bit of Super Punch Patrol, and a little bit later in the show, we're going to be looking at the announcements of the Xbox Series X and the Series S. But before we get into that, Occams, how was your Labor Day weekend? Welcome back.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. I missed you guys, but it was nice to just sort of sit in the dark and just listen to the sound of chains clinking together. So it was good.
And now I have a question. This is blood orange on my side of the country. How is it on your side of the country? Does it look like you're in a horror film on your side of the country?
Okay, that's kind of a loaded question. Because in my house, it always looks like a horror film.
Okay.
But in terms of like environmentally, like outside my realm of direct influence, no, it looks pretty just normal apple pie Americana. But I do love the pictures coming from your neck of the woods. The Blade Runner filter they put over everything is quite nice.
Yeah. It's a really nice September surprise for everyone. Hey, your sky is now the color of your president's hair. Congratulations.
Yeah, I hope everyone out there is doing okay. It's pretty scary.
It is. A lot of fire, especially now up in Oregon.
And this is all because of a gender reveal party? Is that my understanding?
No, that's just one of the fires. Yeah, no, it's just a lot of dry weather, a lot of forest area to burn.
Just God being a vengeful son of a bitch.
Pretty much,
Yeah. Now, what if it was an Antifa gender reveal party?
I don't know what that would be.
It's basically like if we were like a bad improv group, and when somebody asked for suggestions, this is kind of what I'm doing.
Oh, no, I need everything written out beforehand.
I like how you say bad improv group, like there's good ones.
Yeah, there's like 4, but they've been around for like 30 years. So
yeah. By the way, you say your house is a horror house. I always imagine that your dining room is like the one from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, complete with the crazy family and the woman tied up, looking to escape.
I mean, pretty much. You should have seen my first college apartment. That shit was awesome. Oh man, just Christmas lights and just body parts. It was great.
Well, we're going to be talking about games, but before we get into that, I just wanted to share this quick story that I have out of the state of Mississippi. Specifically, it's the University of Mississippi, better known as Ole Miss, where football has resumed, and the school is making sure that it pays tribute to the healthcare heroes of the COVID-19 pandemic. Of course, when we talk about healthcare heroes of the pandemic, we, of course, mean our doctors and nurses who work at the hospitals to keep everyone too stupid to wear a mask alive. To honor those healthcare workers, the school has redesigned their stadium cups that you get when you get a drink at the stadium with pictures of doctors and nurses and also a porn star. Clearly, whoever designed the cup just did a Google search for doctors because porn star Johnny Sins, who has played a doctor in several of his films, made it onto the cup wearing, the doctor's jacket and stethoscope and everything else. When Ole Miss shared the design of the cup on social media, people were quick to point it out. Of course they were. It's the internet. Unfortunately, there are still 2 more weeks until Ole Miss's first home game, so chances are that these cups won't make it into the hands of fans of football or otherwise. which gives them, of course, plenty of time to replace the image of Johnny Sins with, I can only assume, George Clooney from ER or the sexy nurse from Animaniacs.
I think, to be honest, I think all these people who are shouting down on this are all being a little quick to judge because, like, do we know for sure that Johnny Sins is not a medically qualified practitioner?
Well, he's an MD, but I think that stands for something different in the porn industry.
Right.
Mega dick.
Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you for taking the joke to its logical conclusion, Occam.
You're welcome.
There's also a cool thing about everybody knowing who he is. Like, he turns up on the cup and everyone's like, "Oh, that's the guy from the film I watched last night." Johnny Sins is a great name.
It really is.
It's like a cyberpunk character.
Yeah. In fact, that's officially what I'm calling my Cyberpunk 2077 character.
Johnny.
Even though I'm going to play as probably like a woman, it's still going to be Johnny Sins. It'll work.
It'll work. All right, let's go ahead and get talking about games. And Occams, I want to kick off with you because you, I think, have the most interesting title of the week. Let's talk some Tony Hawk.
Boo, sir. I'm gonna start with that boo. So Tony Hawk, man. I am of an age to where the first Tony Hawk game came out when I was a freshman in college.
Whoa.
I am an old man who's not playing scam. Okay, so I have a lot of fond memories of this game. I played it in a group of friends. We would stay up all night drinking and doing other things and just pass the controller. Some of us were better at some levels than others. And we would just play these games incessantly. We knew the soundtracks by heart. We found a lot of good music that way. It has like the one Sublime song I actually like on it, which is nice. I have just these great memories. I was so excited for it to come out. And I'm playing 1 and 2 right now, and I'm having fun. But I had a friend of mine, one of the guys from that original group, text me a couple nights ago. And he's like, "This isn't the same as it was when we were all together." And I thought about, like, he's right. Like, I'm still enjoying it, but like the lack of not having your friends around and all, it sort of diminishes the experience a little bit. So it's just I'm getting kind of progressively sadder as I play it because I'm just thinking about the memories of all my friends and how we would play. Also, it's a bit of a tangent. Tony Hawk 3 is my favorite. Like, that's the one where we just, like, Jesus Christ, the cruise ship level, the bull ring, and then like the trailer trash. You can go through the haunted house thing. That was so much fun. But they're fun games. They really recreated the entire, like, the experience. They almost perfect in my opinion. If you've never played these games before and like you just maybe heard about them from your older brother or your creepy uncle or somebody, and he's like, give them a shot. They're really fun, and I think they've definitely stood the test of time. But for somebody who was there when they first came out and played them all new, when we played the shit out of them, and I think I said in the comment on the review, like, I learned to like hold my cigarette in my mouth without the ash breaking, and I could just like smoke and play the game. And don't smoke, kids. It's a terrible habit. But they're really fun. But there is something kind of hollow about it, just when you're playing by yourself and you have to get up for work in 7 hours or 6 hours. I guess that's the way the things go. But yeah, it is a very wonderful game, and there's a lot of love in there, which is nice.
I think that's one of the key issues that kind of keeps me from getting a lot of these remasters and re-releases, especially if they're older games, because as soon as I start playing it, I'll start thinking back to when I was younger and playing it originally and what my life was back then compared to what my life was back now or is like now. Yeah. So with the whole Super Mario All-Stars 3D All-Stars game, it's like, boy, I played Super Mario 64 when I was 13. Now I'm 35. Ugh. My life was so much better when I was 13.
Oh, mate, I've got like the answer for that. I got just always have a bad life. Like, if you like me, things were as terrible in 1995 and 2005 and 2015 and 2020, then it's just like, it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, this reminds me of when it was 1995 and I was depressed.
Well, I will say the one thing about those Mario games anniversaries that always bugs me is that I'm the same age as Mario, so every time he has an anniversary, it just reminds me how much older I'm getting.
I I like that. I like that Chris has the like Bruce Banner method of life.
Except without the really cool shit of being able to smash stuff up. Although I do wear ripped trousers, so I guess that's pretty close.
Do you steal motorcycles from farmers?
No, there's no farmers around here.
Oh, okay.
In fact, there's going to be no farmers anywhere because Brexit's coming and no one's going to buy any meat offers and vegetables, so there'll be no farmers at all.
Fun.
So, I mean, you've got to provide for yourself because nothing's getting in either.
Right, well, Charlotte, there are rabbits in our fields. What's the problem?
Hey, let me ask y'all, for my European brethren here, is farmersonly.com a thing over there too?
No, I don't think so, but I'm aware of what it is.
Yeah,
I am not. Please elaborate.
All right. So let's say you're a farmer, but you want to fuck. There's a website where you can meet other farmers who want to fuck called farmersonly.com. There's also christianmingle.com, where I guess if you're Christian and you want to mingle, which pretty much means over the pants stuff, christianmingle.com.
Do you think Farmers Only should start an app that's like Grindr except for farmers, so it's called Plower?
Oh, that's good.
So yeah, Tony Hawk's.
I will say that from a technical standpoint, looking at the first game, which I have the least amount of memories with for a variety of reasons, going to the second and the third, you definitely see the progression. Like 1 is fun to play, but it's very like bare bones, and you can definitely see like 2 and 3. It's like kind of like Silent Hill, where they just kept getting better as they made them up to a certain point. Really, like you watch the progression from 1 to 2 to 3, and like, oh, they were really just like full of great ideas and really nailing it.
Yeah, I do remember that, especially because you talk about in 3 with the cruise ship course. They really started to let themselves get a lot more creative with where to go in these games and where these skateboard. I almost said skateboard tracks. No, skateboard parks are to do all these tricks. And so, yeah, no, I kind of agree with you. There is, a lot of the first game levels are classics. Warehouse obviously is a classic, but I agree with you. I think they got a lot more inventive and gave way for a lot more different types of combos in 2, 3, and so forth.
Yeah. Yeah, like with the cruise ship, I had a save on my my Xbox that like I did one combo that lasted the entire time for the entire level. Just start on the cruise ship. You just come off the slide, go around. I spent so many hours just practicing that, and I knew that level. And it was, I hope, and I feel like this game is pretty successful, critically acclaimed. I hope they do a 3 and 4. I didn't play 4, but that was about the time I kind of gotten out of that. But I would love to play 3 again. Really would.
And I'm still surprised they went with a $40 price tag instead of a full $60, because I think they could have got away with it, but having it be a cheaper price makes it even more enticing.
Absolutely. And like if you've never played these games, or you've heard of them, they're 100% worth your time. Like there's no reason you and your friends today couldn't recreate those experiences that we had, minus whatever else surrounding it. But like, they're still just fun games to play with your friends. The music's good. It's a good time.
Did you unlock the inside of the gym?
No, I couldn't remember how to do that. Like it had been like those little things. Like I remember the levels, like grinding to get to destroy the bells and all. I remember that stuff. But like unlocking the gym, I've had to look up a couple things. Like I'm like, I remember doing it.
Yeah.
But nope. It's just like a haze of bong resin and shitty beer and Chinese food blocked it all out.
Let's go ahead and move on. Chris, do you have anything to talk about this week?
No, I've not really played anything lately. I've been kind of really busy on site and also just in kind of like IRL stuff. So I haven't really gotten around to any games lately. I did do a thing this week where on the What You Been Playing article that we run every Saturday morning, I asked the community to pick a game for me, and I put a selection of like third-person adventures that have been haunting my PS4's hard drive for a while, and asked everyone to just vote and tell me what to play this week. And the winner was Control with almost 40% of the votes. Really close second was Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. The others did fair enough. Everything got some votes, but Control nearly got half the vote. So I guess I'm going to be playing that next week. So hopefully I'll have the opportunity to get that finished, and I can tell you all what I thought of it next week. While we're at it, go out and buy the digital deluxe edition, or you don't get a free version for the PS5 or something. I don't know.
or buy the regular edition and hope they screw up again and accidentally.
Yeah, no, because apparently I've heard that they've reversed that. Like the people who got the accidental upgrade have had it like removed.
Wow, that's a dick move.
Video game.
God forbid we make this easy. All right, Charlotte, let's go ahead and move on to you. Why don't you tell us about Oxenfree?
Yep. I mean, this week's been a bit of a mess for me with regards to games in that I've tried too many things. I've hit a wall with Odyssey, which is kind of frustrating because I'm 70 hours in and I'm stuck, and that's a bad feeling. And I've since learned that the enemies scale, which, I've put all this extra time into side quests and I've not really been rewarded for it. In fact, it's made the game harder, which seems kind of bad, but I'll probably go back to it at some point. So I've tried Death Stranding, and that's strange, but I've only done 4 hours, so I don't think I really want to talk about it yet. The same goes for Steep, which sort of tying into what Occams said. I'm really glad that Steep feels very distinct from SSX3 and SSX Tricky, because those are those games that were hallowed games from my past, and whenever I try to go back to them, it just never feels the same. So I'm glad that it's something distinct and doesn't feel like a poorer version of those memories from days gone by. But I haven't played enough to talk about it. What I have played enough to talk about is Oxenfree. So Oxenfree is an adventure. If you don't know, it's an adventure game, kind of walking around, point and click sort of thing, about some teenagers who go to an island and they discover some sort of spookiness going on, tied to some sort of disaster in the island's past. And in doing so, they go over disasters from their own history. And they go through some interpersonal struggles and they work together to try and escape the island, and then decide if they're going to do so at any cost or if they're going to be nice to everybody in the process. Can't really say much more without spoiling it, to be honest. Definitely give it a go. It's very spooky, a lot of sort of John Carpenter sort of body horror sort of references. It does have references to suicide in it, so if that's something that you're very, very sensitive to, then maybe avoid, because they do kind of come out of nowhere. I think the problem I had with the game, though, because I played this for Kane and Rinse, my other podcast, so I went into my problems with the game in depth. They're not problems enough that I wouldn't recommend playing it, but it does have the problem that it has two separate narratives going on the entire time about these kids and the tragedies in their past and the tragedies of people who were on the island. And the problem is the kids want to get off the island as soon as possible. They're on a haunted island, they want to escape it, but at the same time you're being encouraged to look into the past and find notes and stay on the island. And it's trying to weigh those two up is pretty difficult, and it feels like the pacing's just all wrong because you're being pushed to sort of get off the island, but you have this whole other second narrative hanging around. The whole point of the game is that you are supposed to play it multiple times and do a new game plus. You don't get the full experience if you don't do a new game plus. But as we talked about in Kane and Rinse, it's almost as if some of that should have been saved for New Game Plus. The new game, the first playthrough, seems pretty messy because it's just trying to battle these two separate narratives and doesn't quite know where to slot everything. So that's the main issue I have with it. But to be honest, if you just play it for that one narrative of kids arguing and discovering, going over tragedies in their past while also trying to get off this spooky island, it's still a perfectly good game. You just feel kind of disappointed that you've abandoned half of the game in doing so. So definitely give it a go. There's a good chance you have it already for free. It was offered on Good Old Games for free at some point, and also I think it's been available for Xbox, and it was in a bundle for on itch as well, itch.io. Yeah, sorry, that was a big long monologue, but yeah, that's Oxenfree. It's a spooky adventure game with teenagers. The teenagers aren't that annoying, but sometimes they are a little bit, and it's good. It's a good use of 4 hours of your time.
It was kind of the first big hit for Night School, I think, wasn't it? And they've since gone on to do games like After Party and stuff, and they've basically they've carved a niche out for themselves in making games that are essentially about characters facing their past. Or at least that's kind of what these early games are. And they seem to be, although Afterparty probably isn't quite as good as Oxenfree is, I do think they're very good at kind of writing characters and making them relatable.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple of characters who... Oh, but it's difficult because, like, in Oxenfree, if you've played Oxenfree, Ren is one of those quirky, sort of hyperactive characters. And the first time I played Oxenfree, I was like, oh, this reminds me of my friend when I was 14. This is great. I want to hang out with him. And then the second time I played it, I was just annoyed with him the entire time. So it was like giving myself 2 years between those two playthroughs to, like, reflect on the characters. I just read two completely different things into this one character, which just sort of speaks to the strength of the writing, that you can play it in a certain mood and think this thing about a character, and you can play it in a different mood and you have a completely different opinion of them.
Well, that's kind of Friends in general a lot of the times.
True. I mean, when you get older, you get... I feel like even within like 2 years, I'm more annoyed by people who are bouncing off the walls than I was before. So I guess that's part of it.
Yeah, 2 years seems like a good amount of time to finally have all the little quirks of other people start getting on your nerves. I'm about 19 months into my job and starting to get to the point where some of the things that my coworkers do really start to bug me. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, but the other side of the coin, I've known some of you guys for like 2 to 3 years now, and I just like you guys more. So.
Aww. That's sweet.
I feel so warmed by that compliment.
But there's other people on the team who I feel the opposite way about. So keep it to yourself, okay?
All right, let's go ahead and wrap up with me. Just quick talk about Super Punch Patrol. This is the newest game from Bertil Hoberg. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I have forgot since I interviewed him.
Fancy.
Creator of Gunman Clive. So Super Punch Patrol is a co-op beat 'em up that takes inspiration from the early days of the genre. In other words, it's a pretty simple game. Each of the 3 characters has just one combo and an area clearing attack. They also have a jump attack, a rush attack, and a grab. Enemies are just as simple, as they generally have one signature attack that they spam on you. But despite its simplicity, it's a pretty neat beat 'em up, especially when you consider it's only $5. The levels look great with that sketchbook art style that Hoberg originated on Gunman Clive. It looks really wonderful here. There are some really good animations as well. There's one of the enemies. It's a female enemy who has this like really slick bob haircut, and she does nothing but dive kicks at you. But if you get close enough to her, she'll grab you, bend her over her knee, and spank you. Levels, so far from what I've seen, are divided into 2 areas. And so you'll first go through, like on the first level, you'll go through fighting on the street. And then at the halfway point, you'll jump down into the sewer to finish the level, which is just a classic beat 'em up concept right there. Only problem is that if you run out of lives, at least on the normal difficulty, and you use a continue, you go back to the very beginning of the level, not necessarily to the checkpoint halfway through. I hope to have a review up by the time it launches, but I can tell you right now that if you go watch the trailer for it on 60 frames per second on YouTube, that's exactly what it looks like playing on Switch. The frame rate is like butter here. It is just so beautiful to watch every motion, even if there's not anything too complicated going on in terms of animation or art direction. It's all very simple in how it's designed. This was a COVID project for Hoberg, so it's so far it's turned out pretty good. And I hopefully going to see it through to the end, probably Monday or Tuesday, and get that review up.
This is the game with the like the Tom of Finland looking motherfucker in it, right?
Yeah. This is the all the guys that look like they're from a gay porn studio in the 1980s. Yes,
it's got a really good aesthetic to it, and it's only on Switch, right? So I'm gonna have to. Yeah,
I think these other games have gone to other consoles as well, so there is a chance this will jump over to PS4, because I think one of his other games or 2 of his other games made the jump as well. But yeah, it's currently just going to be on Switch, $5. Launches on Thursday. Based on what I played right now, it's not a bad way to spend $5.
Hey, CJ?
Yeah.
You're not a bad way to spend $5.
This is Podtoid.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to talking about the news.
This is the news.
This was a big week for the video game industry as the elongated game of chicken played between Sony and Microsoft came to an end. The announcement of the release date and price for the Xbox Series X and the reveal of the Xbox Series S. The Series S, as you might remember, was rumored for a while, but then all but confirmed when people found boxes for Xbox controllers with the Series S name on it. As predicted, this weaker version of the Xbox Series X and Occams, I know I'm just killing you right now with these names. This does not have a disk drive on it. It will not do 4K gaming. It maxes out on 4 teraflops, whatever those are. And the game is $200 cheaper. Or, I'm sorry, not the game. The console is $200 cheaper than the Xbox Series X. Since the announcement, there has been a lot of debate on whether this console will be a challenge or a significant extra work for developers, with some on Twitter citing the slow RAM, slow CPU, and slow GPU compared to the Xbox Series X, which has 12 teraflops and is, by all accounts, lightning fast. Speaking of the Series X, Microsoft finally announced it will cost $500 at launch. Microsoft has made a big deal of this console being able to hit 4K at 60 frames per second, where that's not always a guarantee on the PlayStation 5. Last month, it was revealed that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart will have a 60 frames per second performance mode, which likely means that 4K for the game will be around half that. Now that we finally have news of the Series S and Series X release dates and price, Occams, what are you thinking?
Man, you know what I'm thinking. It's fucking the naming taxonomy. I don't understand it. Also, you just said a whole bunch of shit I don't care about as a gamer. Like I was thinking while you were saying all that. Like, okay, so the teraflops, which by the way, and this is, I feel like I'm just a child of the '90s. 4 teraflops are just 4 Tara Reid movies. They get released direct to DVD. Don't laugh, please. You're just encouraging me to do that again. Yeah, okay. I think that sounds cool. Like, you know, for the diskless thing, and people have different options and all. That's great. But like, I just want to know about the games, and I know with COVID and everything that the games are delayed, and these launch lineups are going to be shitty or at least mediocre. And there's a lot of stuff that's just like, play your old games and they look better. But I'm thinking, like, so there's people like us who are invested in video games, and we're like, okay, all this stuff. But like, for just like the average folks out there who don't know what a teraflop is or care or whatever, this is all so confusing. And I don't know, like, I'm just imagining that scenario where the parent or the grandparent walks into a GameStop, a Best Buy, wherever, trying to get one of these things for the child or whoever. And it's just going to be kind of a clusterfuck to figure out which is which and what is what. Like, and I'm just seeing that nightmare scenario. Christmas morning, the kid opens a thing, and it's and there's like a game there, but then there's no disk drive because I got the wrong one.
Yeah.
And it's just that actually happened. So Christmas Eve, whatever year that was in the '90s, my parents got me a Nintendo 64, and they were like, "Well, you know, it's Christmas Eve, and he's bored and antsy, so." They gave me my Nintendo 64 the night of, and I was like, shit. You know, I had Killer Instinct Gold. It was a great Christmas Eve. But here's the thing, though. So they opened the box, set everything up. It didn't come with the little RF adapter. And my dad, he poured himself another martini into a plastic Dixie cup, and we get in the car and proceed to drive to like 5 different Kmarts and Walmarts looking for this RF adapter. And we finally found one, but that was like crisis averted, because I'm sitting there, I'm like, you give it those dogs where they have the cones on their neck so they can't like scratch it, whatever, like surgery stitch. That's me looking at my N64 but can't play it. And I feel like that's going to be a lot of kids' Christmas Day if they don't have the right one. You know, I don't remember a console launch with as much like jaded feeling or cynicism as this one. And I think part of that's definitely just the year's been like that. But it just seems like a lot of this game of playing chicken, and then all the Series X, the Series S, there's maybe a Series R2. I mean, Jesus Christ, it's too much for me. Ugh.
Yeah, the rumored Series V, I think, is what it was, which is
Sure.
just as powerful as the Xbox Series X, but without a disk drive.
Fuck you. That just like it's so silly, man. Like the Series S, the Series X, just PS5, and that doesn't make it a better system, but it sure as hell is like, oh, here's a PS4, here's a PS5. Okay.
Yeah, I will say that for me, there were two big problems with this announcement, and the first is all the developers coming out and complaining about the specs on the Series S. It makes me think Microsoft hasn't done a good enough job behind the scenes selling them on the console or making it clear that it's easy, or maybe it's not so easy, but showing them how they can downgrade their games for it from a Series X. The second you already brought up, there was no game announcements with this, like nothing. There was just the console announcement, the trailer for the consoles, the release date, the prices. All of the game announcements came from third-party developers who were like, yeah, now we're moving this date up to November 10th. So, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is a launch title, and Yakuza Like a Dragon is a launch title, and Dirt 5 or whatever it was is also a launch title. But there's nothing from Microsoft Game Studios. And I think that's really going to hurt this week when, knock on wood, Sony is supposed to come out with its details on the PlayStation, and they're probably going to have a big, bright, beautiful trailer for Miles Morales as a game you can get day and date on the launch of the PlayStation 5, where the Xbox is, here's some multi-platform games and a timed exclusive. I mean, the PlayStation's even going to come with a built-in game, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm the kind of gamer, I don't care about the 60 FPS at 4K. That's fine. I'm not up on that kind of stuff, and the games look pretty to me and whatever. I'm a layman, so I don't really give a shit. I'm fine in my ignorance right now. It's the games. So, I just want to know, where's my next Bloodborne? Where's God of War 2? Where's like the thing, like what Halo was to me back in the day? I'd love to see Microsoft put something else out that really just grabs me by the cojones and just doesn't let go,
Where's that killer instinct?
Shit.
Oh. Chris, you covered these stories this week. What are your thoughts on the Xbox series of consoles?
Well, I'm probably not going to buy one. We'll see. Like, I'll probably get a PS5, but we'll see. But of the two, that is. Yeah. I do think, I'm trying to inject a little bit of positivity. I do think it's cool that we finally know a release date, and that we kind of got prices that basically everyone was predicting. It wasn't like they're expensive, but at least they weren't more than everyone was predicting. They're kind of what everyone thought the price point would be. It's also interesting to see that they're actually doing this in-house, not necessarily in-house, but this licensed finance option. Like, finance options have often been available from kind of catalog companies and stuff like that, but to see a manufacturer actually openly say, we are entering into agreements with retailers to offer these finance options. And that deal where you can get the console, is it the console and a year of Xbox Live Gold, I don't have my notes here, and Game Pass as well, which now also has the EA Play built into it. And wasn't it $35 a month or something like that? I believe it was. But $35 a month, and you get like the console, the Game Pass, which is a huge library of really good games, EA Play, which has got some good games in it, and Xbox Live. And, we're at a time where like people are short on money, so it's kind of cool that they're doing that finance thing. Now, of course, entering into finance plans comes with its own risk and comes with its own problems down the line. But I do think it's interesting to see console manufacturers finally stepping up to the realization that, like, our new product's actually really fucking expensive, and you've probably not got a lot of money at the moment, so we're actually going to enter into giving you an option to make it more affordable.
How much was that? £35 a month?
$35, or I think it's probably about £30, because they're not doing a straight dollar. They're not doing a straight dollar to pound conversion on these prices, which that was surprising enough, because it's like $499 or £449, and that to me is amazing enough. I don't, because I don't remember the last time it wasn't just they just changed the denomination and left it at that. But yeah, that's what it is, Charlotte. It's like $35 or £30 gets you an Xbox and access to Game Pass and all the games on it, and access to EA Play and all the games on it, and also a gold account.
I mean, I don't have a phone contract. I don't have a Sky subscription. I'm very averse to what's it called? Oh my God, I can think of the German term, but I can't think of the English term. Like paying for something and paying it off until you own it. Like I don't like that. Hire purchase, exactly. Yeah. But when you think about it, you spend that much on a phone contract, don't you? If you have a phone contract, like that's as long as you know what you're getting into and you don't do this for multiple other things. I think that's a fairly reasonable deal. And like, yeah, being realistic about what people can afford in these times is only going to win them supporters. I think that's a shrewd move. I think
it's pretty aggressive, and obviously there's rumors that have come out since this reveal that Sony have actually altered their price. From what it was, whether but that's literally just insiders have said. So who knows? It's a pretty aggressive stance to come off the bat with, to say like you can have one for this price, or you can have it for like £30 a month.
Occams, you're going to say something?
Yeah, that just the idea of Sony altering their price. Like I feel like how the sausage is made. Not that I have really any clue. But it seems like the console is going to cost X amount of money, and we're projected to sell this, and these are our profit margins. And I feel like all of this stuff is really, really market researched, and a lot of people spend, just tens of thousands of work hours figuring out this stuff to make it work, to determine the price, and then just on the fly, like to go back and alter, well, it's going to be $50 less, or or whatever. It just doesn't seem like something a big corporation would do. Now, I could be wrong. I had no clue. But it just seems like for all the time spent getting this shit together to finally announce it, to then like on the fly go, oh no, it's $50 less. Like that doesn't seem like something that would happen. But what do I know?
I agree entirely. It does only take like one panicking executive, but you know what I mean? But yeah. I agree.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our second story. It's a little bit more serious than talking about new consoles. It has to do with Ubisoft. And no, we're not going to talk about the Ubisoft Forward presentation. It was fine. No, let's instead talk about the apology video. As you know, Ubisoft has been in turmoil since the summer when it was revealed the company was a pretty goddamn toxic place to work. There was, you might remember, Sergei Haskoet, who was accused of misogyny, homophobia, holding meetings at strip clubs, and attempting to drug people. That was a new one I read this morning. He left Ubisoft in July. Then there was Ashraf Ismail, who was the director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, who was fired after an internal investigation. Many more people have been named and ousted, though I've read online that they may not have been stripped of their shares of the company. I don't know if that's true or not, so it would be best if they were, but who knows? Either way, it's clear that Ubisoft has been a particularly bad place to work if you're a woman for a long time, which is why this week's apology video is just so damn frustrating. First of all, people were expecting a statement from Ubisoft before the last Ubisoft Forward presentation, but it didn't happen because of, quote, time constraints. So then there's this video that's released 2 hours before the most recent Ubisoft Forward, and Yves Goulimont, when pressed on the timing of this, once again cited time constraints as the reason they couldn't put it as part of the Ubisoft Forward presentation. Really, time constraints. Every single reaction I saw to that, from like Jeff Keighley to guys at IGN, was just like, really? That's the excuse you're going with? By the way, time constraints in this case was the time that passed between the apology video and to them announcing Scott Pilgrim versus the World, when everyone forgave Ubisoft. This one really got under my craw. In the video, Goulimont said, quote, "This summer we learned certain Ubisoft employees did not uphold our company's values," end quote. However, if you look at the reporting that's been done on this, it's clear this has been going on for a while, and it's been known for a while. The head of HR apparently told a French magazine Liberation that Yves was okay with toxic management as long as the manager's results exceeded the toxicity level. That where are they working? Is this Sterling Cooper Draper Price? I don't understand why any of that would be acceptable, or how anyone going to a strip club for a work meeting is acceptable. But Chris, you'll agree that the timing of that apology video in relation to the Ubisoft Forward was fucking bad. Bad decision on their part.
Yeah, pretty much. I just don't think there's any way of not taking it cynically, given how long they've had for Eves to publicly address this. I know that there's been a couple of very kind of side throwaway statements, but to put out like a message to the public, an actual filmed message to the public, and it was it's been a long time, and then to do it right before. It's almost literally like a preemptive strike against criticism, isn't it? It's just like, oh, in a couple of hours, we're going to show these games. We don't want anyone to give us any shit. So we'll play this 4-minute video. And then I don't know whether they thought that, I don't know whether, when I say they, I'm talking about kind of the executives here, like Eves and co. But I don't know whether they thought, oh, we'll put a video out and then everything will be fine. But yes, they said that it couldn't be part of the presentation because there was no time, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. You can then watch it if you watch the video on demand version. They added it to that, but they couldn't do it as part of the live presentation. It's 4 minutes, that presentation was 40 minutes altogether. So it was a drop in the ocean. It's a very, there's no way of looking at it based on the timing other than cynically. Ultimately, and I wrote about this at the time, so people can find my thoughts if they go and look for that article. But ultimately, talk is cheap, and it's all just about action. It's all about action. It's all about what they do. It's all about how things happen going forward. And for some people, there's no repairing the situation. For some people, the name is tarnished now. Ubisoft are going to be held under a microscope going forward, rightfully so, and it's just over the coming weeks and months and years, because I don't see this company going away anytime soon, God no, there just needs to be change, and people need to be safer, and it needs to be a healthier place to work. Putting $1 million into your graduate program when you're like a gazillion-dollar company doesn't sound like anything.
It's not just $1 million; it's $1 million over 5 years.
It's a tax write-off.
Yeah.
They can put out their 4-minute video and they can say we're investing this million. It all just comes down to actions and what the company does going forward and what it proves going forward. The video doesn't count for anything. The $1 million in your graduate program doesn't count for anything. Fucking fix it. Get your house in order.
The video will mean a lot more a year from now if Jason Schreier writes an article interviewing people who work at Ubisoft talking about what a better place it's become to work at. That's when the video will matter, because that's when they upheld all the promises they were making in it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with putting money into a graduate program, I'm not going to name names here. I know somebody who talks very openly about how when you want to fix a system like the problems in the game dev industry, you don't fix it by throwing more people at it. You fix the problem because you're just going to burn through people and damage people and not fix the problem. So I don't see how pumping money into a graduate scheme is even, to be honest, a good idea. Don't introduce more people to a toxic system, fix the system first. And I just want to say very quickly, I know I've been talking a lot lately about Ubisoft and things like, I mentioned a few weeks ago, Where's Beyond Good and Evil 2? I've been playing Assassin's Creed Odyssey. It is something I'm aware of. Should I even be playing these games at all at the moment? It is a bit of inner turmoil, but the thing is, it's the same with David Cage's games. I feel like a lot of good people who had nothing to do with these problems put a lot of hard work into these games, and I feel like their hard work still deserves attention. It's a really hard, because for a long time I boycotted David Cage's games after the allegations came out, but then people told me, a lot of innocent people put a lot of hard work into these games, and it's like that's the struggle, you don't want to ignore the people who, despite these terrible working conditions, did a really good job and tried their best.
Charlotte, I stand with you on this. Like, I stand with you on this. There are thousands of people at that company who had nothing to do with anything that was going on, who in the middle of a pandemic are like busting their asses to feed their families and keep the roofs over their head and pay for their health care and put food on the table. And they had nothing to do with any of these like horrible incidents took place. And it's like, those people, and they might have even done it under horrible kind of crunch circumstances, and those people need like that money. They need their work recognized. They need to keep feeding their families and paying their rent and paying for their health insurance and all of these matters. And that's where the problem comes with the idea of like boycotting.
Yeah.
And that's almost like a 3-hour conversation in itself.
It is nevertheless, it's still a very uncomfortable feeling to be playing Ubisoft games at the moment. Yeah. And the terrible management there and the toxicity from certain individuals is entirely the reason why it's so uncomfortable to play those games. It's their fault.
Definitely.
As always, like almost as it's the fuckers at the top, almost as always. Do you know what I mean? It's not the person who comes in and designs a tree in Assassin's Creed every day. It's like the guy who holds the meetings at the strip club.
Or the guy at the top who really needs to resign. Occams, why don't you take us out on a lighter note? We have a shout out this week.
We do. I was looking through the community, looking through different stuff, and it is not one particular user, but just sort of a couple things I've noticed. And my chair's going to creak because I'm sitting up, and it's an old chair. Okay. People who share the stuff they cook on the quick posts. I love seeing the food y'all make. Y'all are some talented goddamn chefs. Someone made Parmesan eggs, which sounds kind of weird. Parmesan and eggs, but Jesus, it looked good. So that's...
Ooh, I saw that.
Yeah, that looks so good. And I think Sam Vandermeer went to like a Mexican place by his house, and it looked like a heart attack on the plate, which sounds perfect, especially in 2020. But it was just, oh my God, it was like an enchilada, maybe a burrito. I'm not sure. It was covered in like 8 different sauces. Looked perfect. But the food stuff is really nice, especially when y'all cook. Y'all need to teach me how to cook, 'cause Jesus Christ, it looked delicious. And there's just a lot of people sharing happy moments. And I saw some people playing Street Fighter together, which made me really happy. It's just nice to see that sense of community continued. It's been a tough year, and it's nice when y'all do that, and share moments together. So just kind of a general community shout out. Just y'all are some great chefs, and it's nice to see y'all playing games outside the site. And so yeah, it's Destructoid. It's a good place to be. We're good people.
Speak for yourself, Occams.
That is it for this episode of Podtoid. On behalf of Charlotte, Occams, Chris, and myself, thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Podbean, or the Destructoid YouTube channel.